Hello, hello, everyone. Actually, it looks like there's no one right now, but I'm recording and the video is going right now, so we'll see if anybody jumps in. We're going to be talking about sketchnoting. We just got done with a really good Twitter chat, and we talked all about sketching and actually did a little bit of live sketching as we went. So, oh, somebody's in here. So what we're gonna do, my little thing shows that we have one viewer right now, so probably ought to post that link one more time. Come join us for a quick live mini workshop on sketchnoting. There's the link. Let's see if we can get more people in here. They might all be on Eastern time and are tired. Who knows? Oh, now we're up to 8. All right, very good. All right, so hey everybody, glad you all are hanging around for this. We won't go like super long, but I thought I'm like in my pajamas right now, so but I figured I'd give you just kind of a quick rundown of the kind of stuff that I do in my sketchnoting workshops when I do them at conferences. And so one of the big things that I always tell people, and this is something that I dropped into the chat, was that sketchnoting isn't so much about art as it is about ideas. And so if you want to get the brain benefits of sketchnoting, it doesn't have to be, high class art. It doesn't have to be fancy drawings. A stick figure or a house made out of a square and a triangle is just as good as a a fancy one. So, oh, by the way, if you're in here, holy cow, there's 25, 26 of you in here now. Tweet to the Ditch Book hashtag if you have questions. I couldn't figure out how to do the Q&A. I'm sure there's something really simple and I just couldn't figure it out. But if you want to ask me something or if you want to provide me feedback, I've got it on TweetDeck right there. So I'm looking kind of like right at it. In fact, there's a tweet at the top right now from Carrie saying I could talk forever about sketchnoting, and I could too. And by the way, how impressive was it that Brian Rosinski sketched the entire thing, all of his answers? That was so cool. So anyway, so what I was saying was, yeah, it's not about art, it's about ideas. And so if you can incorporate some of those visuals in with your text, whether you're a student and you're taking notes in class, or if you're a teacher and you're like drawing on the board behind you, if you can package those visuals in with the text, that's super powerful. And so that's one big thing. Now, when it comes to sketching, there are a couple of little things that you can do to kind of help out. So I'm going to try to demonstrate some of those for you here on my iPad. If the battery doesn't die, we're going to find out. So I heard some of you talking about the app Paper by 53, and so that's what I'm using right here. I'm going to show it to you with my iPad really fast. So this is what it looks like. You've got the different little tools down there, and then you can just draw on the screen. And so that's what I'm going to be using to. I almost dropped my iPad. That's not good. Okay, so anyway, as far as drawing goes, because sometimes people will say, I'm not an artist. I don't think that I can really do this whole sketchnoting thing. I love the way that Mike Rohde puts it. Mike Rohde wrote this book called The Sketchnoting Handbook, and he said anything that you need to draw, if you want to put visuals into your sketches, anything that you need to draw can be drawn with these 5 shapes: circle, square, triangle, line, dot. So he said just about anything, and again, it doesn't have to be fancy. So let's do an example here real fast. If we need to draw a house, I mean, how many of us have drawn this exact house when we were a kid, right? Squares, rectangles, triangles. Doesn't have to be fancy. If you want to draw, let's say, a bowling ball, watch this. Done. 4 circles. And that gets the idea across, doesn't it? So that's one thing that's big. Another thing, and actually I forgot to drop the link to this video in, but there's a video out on YouTube by Sketchofrenzy. And Sketchofrenzy is like I don't know. I think they've put out some different videos, but one of them talks about the basics of sketchnoting, and they say that sketchnoting is all about text, pictures, and structure. And so when it comes to text, I don't know if you've ever thought of it this way, but text is your handwriting is actually kind of like your very first font. That's kind of like your base font. And so if you can take that handwriting and then do some different stuff to it, you can actually have a whole bunch of different fonts. So I'm going to show you some examples of like my handwriting. And one thing that I found that I liked, this is going to be kind of not the prettiest because I'm drawing it with my finger, but you know, this is kind of like my basic font. And then you'll see over here that I like to do the uppercase first letter and then lower, like little caps for all the rest of them. I just found that that seemed to work. But there's the Sketcho Frenzy video. John Keller just dropped it into the tweet. I need to go to sleep. Into the chat. Thank you for that, John. Anyway, that's my base font. Now, what's interesting is that you can take your base font and then do extra things to it. One of my favorite things to do is to add, I'm not sure exactly what like the correct name for this is, but I like to add a second downstroke. I call it a downstroke anyway, to the letters, and it kind of gives it a little more of an elegant feel. Another thing you can add to it, I'm going to try to scribble these onto my onto this. Another thing you can add is what's called serifs. And so this gives it a whole different feel too. You might have seen serifs before. You know, I mean, pretty much every book that you read, almost all of them have serif fonts where it's got those little feet, you know. And so just by adding those in, sometimes that can give you a whole different feel too. And then the other thing that I love to add, this was something that I used to do when I was in like middle school and elementary school, was I used to do, I'm gonna write my name like this. I used to do the big block letters or the bubble letters. Okay, this isn't going to be the prettiest, I can already tell. I misinterpreted how much room I was going to have, but the block letters. And so this is really nice for, you might have seen this in some of my pictures that I put into the chat, is that I would pull out one word and make it really big in those block letters. And what's interesting is that if you do Sketchnotes and you have, you know, several different things all around the page, that if you have one block word pulled out of a sentence, sometimes you don't even need to read that whole sentence. If you see that one block word, then all of a sudden, you know, it all comes flooding back to you. So that's one thing that really helps. Another thing, when it comes to sketchnoting, I mentioned earlier that it's kind of about text, pictures, and structure, right? So there's a couple of different structures that you can use. One of them that I really like, I'm going to show you kind of like a really quick version of this. I call this the donut structure. And I don't know if there's like a formal name for this, but I like to put the title of my sketch right here in the middle and then just throw random ideas all around it into that donut space out there. And so if I'm getting ready to sketch a, Brian liked the serifs, nice. And cursive, thank you, Brant, for throwing that in. That's good. Yeah, adding the cursive is good too. But what I'll do sometimes is if I'm getting ready to listen to a speech, I will do the title into the donut hole, so to speak, like the part in the middle, and then I'll start adding things around it so I don't have to go back and do that later. That's one really good one. Another one, if you know that your sketch is, or that what you're sketching is going to have like 3 parts, do something as simple as that. Just divide it into 3 equal areas. And one thing that I don't think enough teachers use is doing something simple like that up on the whiteboard. If you know that there are going to be 3 big parts to what it is that you're going to be teaching, if you just draw those 2 lines there, that does so much for kids and how they structure what they think the lesson's going to be like. So if you get done with the first one, you get halfway through the second one, then all of a sudden the students are like, okay, I know he's probably halfway through the entire thing. So just something little like that can be huge. And then there's another one, another structure I want to show you, and it's called the free path. Free path is a good one. This is where it just kind of like follows that line. So you add a little part to your sketch here and then to here and then to here, and you just follow that line. And if you do that, this is really good for stuff like stories that have a beginning, middle, and an end. And so that's one way to do it too. And then you could use like the popcorn or the random, and you can just throw stuff in wherever. So as far as structure goes, those are a couple of ways. So if you think about your structure, if you have a couple of different fonts for different things, and honestly, I started practicing my handwriting more when I started sketching. And so if you've got sloppy handwriting, there is hope for you, because there's hope for me. My Sketchnote or my handwriting has been atrocious. And then as far as drawing goes, I mean, you know, use the 5 main shapes, and I think that could be really big. So anyway, as far as all of those go, you know, put them all together. You don't have to sketchnote live. That's one of my favorite things to do, but I also know it's one of the hardest ways to sketch. So you don't have to do it that way. In fact, one of the best edu sketchnoters that I know of is Sylvia Duckworth. And Sylvia says she doesn't do live sketchnoting. She pulls all of her ideas together, and then she composes something and takes her time to make it look really nice. So there's lots of different ways that you can do it. So, and of course, the paper app by 53 is my favorite. That's the one that I've been showing you right here. So, okay, that was quick. I didn't want to go too long, because I know it's you know, it's getting late for me. It's like 11:15 out here on Eastern time. So anyway, you know, feel free to throw any more questions into the chat. But this was fun. Hope that this was useful for you. The link to this is just like a little 15-minute video, but I'll put the link to this into the chat too if you want to come back and refer to it. So if anybody's got any questions, throw them into the chat real fast. I'll hang around for just a second. But other than that, that's about it. We topped out at about 32 people watching this, which is pretty cool. I had no idea how it was going to go, because, you know, I just kind of put this together on a whim. So, all right, looks like everybody's starting to drop off. Brian says sketchnoting is hard, and he concurs, but also energizing like a trapeze without a net. Yes, very, very true. And my sketch notes that I do live are not nearly as pretty as the ones where I'll sit down and will, you know, try to do a nice job on them. Not that I'm not trying to do a nice job on the live ones. So, all right, thank you, John. Thank you to everybody that hung around for all this. This was fun. So I think I'm going to sign off of here and head to bed. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week and weekend. Thanks.